Hey everyone, I'm Rather Incoherent, and I wanted to make a brief guide on how to vastly upgrade your flask right at the start of the game. This is going to be a short collecting guide about how to get all of the golden seeds and sacred tears to get more and better flask, and Limgrave, the Weeping Peninsula, Caelid, and also Southern Liurnia. We're not going to touch that one too much. I think one of the most important pieces of advice I could give to a new player is to level up their vigor and to upgrade their flask. The reason for this is because Elden Ring, like all of the FromSoft games, is a game about pattern recognition. You watch what enemies do and you learn how to dodge their attacks to both evade their damage and find openings for your own attacks and to heal yourself. Learning these patterns is the core gameplay loop, but the less health you have and the less healing you have, the less room for error you have to learn with and the longer the process is going to take. If you're getting 2-shot and you can only heal yourself back to full 3 times, it's going to take you tremendously longer to learn how to kill Margit than it will if you get 5-shot and you can heal back to full 6 times. That room for error of early levels and vigor and early flask upgrades really helps a new player learn the game, and even as a veteran player, it makes playing the game substantially more enjoyable. So that's what I want to showcase today, is how to very immediately get all of the flask upgrades in the early game. The only thing this character has done is get all the maps to the first 3 areas of the game so that I can better show you where I'm going and what I'm doing. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get all the golden seeds and sacred tears in Limgrave, the Weeping Peninsula, Caelid, and a little bit in Southern Liurnia. You can go further than this. You can go to Northern Liurnia. You can go even higher into Altus and you get the Dectus Medallion. But really, once you've done these first 2 zones, your flask will be so much better that you hit a point of diminishing returns where you have like 8 + 5 flask or something. You don't need better flask at that point. That's good enough to learn pretty much anything. So let's get into it. I'm going to show you the route that I run whenever I start a new character in Elden Ring to immediately upgrade my flask and get more room for error. First, I'm going to quickly teleport to the gate front where you get your horse, because that's where I'd be starting from normally. First, we're going to head east and south into the Weeping Peninsula. During this route, I'm going to be picking up all the graces along the way just for ease of exploration later on in the character's life. It's obviously not a necessary step. At the end of this video, I'm going to fight Margit twice. First, I'm going to fight him without upgrading my flask or my vigor to show you how that amount of room for error feels even for a veteran player. And then I'm going to use all the flask upgrades that I have and also level up my vigor about 10 levels and show you how that room for error feels to demonstrate my point, but that'll be at the end of the video. So far, we've just been following the road southeast. We're going to be stopping to pick up the waypoint here just to travel back a little bit faster in the near future, but it's wholly unnecessary. And now, at the south edge of Limgrave, we're entering the Weeping Peninsula. It's a very low-level zone, a great place to go early on in any character's life, not just because it's sort of where you're expected to go if you're exploring the world as a new character, but also because it has 3 incredibly easy-to-access sacred tears in it. At this point, you can see we've traveled all the way down the road into the central area of the Weeping Peninsula. We're heading south for a little bit to pick up the golden seed. If this is a new character, you're going to want to pick up the map at that pylon I just passed. Next, we head north back up the road. We would fast travel to the grace that we just got, but we can't because the archer is shooting at us. And we're going to hook northwest around the mountain. There's no way up the cliffside from over here. Crossing this bridge to the west, we're not actually going to continue west. We need to hook around to the south and jump into that wind well. And we're immediately jumping back out just on the other side to get on top of that plateau we saw earlier. Running directly east from where we entered the plateau, there's a small rundown church here, and as churches are wont to do in this game, there is a sacred tear here. We're heading right back out the same way we came in. Jump back towards the spirit well, and then take another jump back to where we were mere moments ago. And now heading west, and now heading northwest, you can already see our next destination, another church, another sacred tear. From this church, we're heading west-southwest towards another church and 1 more sacred tear before we warp back to Limgrave and start down a different path to get more flask upgrades. And again, you can already see the church we're heading to in the distance. And now, having arrived at our last spot in the Weeping Peninsula, before I warp to the next area, I will quickly show you on the map what I've been doing. We traveled all the way south along the road through Limgrave, down to the Castlemorn Rampart. From here, we ran down to here to grab a golden seed, ran back up, across this bridge here, over a windwell to this church, right back over, north to this church, and southwest to this church, and that's all the flask upgrades down here. Now we're going to warp back up to Agheel Lake South and continue on to get more flask upgrades in eastern Limgrave. From that Grace, we're going to head northeast towards the Mistwood. From the cliff face here, just past the edge, you can see there's another spirit well, so we can jump down safely into the woods. From here, we're going to head directly east across the Mistwood to Fort Heights for a golden seed. This video is explicitly about getting early Flask upgrades, but I'll showcase another thing, that along the way, you can very quickly assemble the Seal of Dectus and Radagon Source Seal for maybe a minute and a half, 2 more minutes of travel time. You just run past everyone in Fort Height, all the way up to the top, and at the top of this ladder, you'll find the left or right half, I forget which, of the Dectus Medallion. And once you grab this, since you're so far away from the enemies, they've all forgotten where you are, and you can just fast travel back to the base of the tower. If you had grabbed the Grace like a smart person, but I'll be walking back. The Grace for Fort Height is right outside, just west of it on the cliff face. And now from here, we're going to head north directly across the Mistwood again to another church for the Sacred Tier there, as well as the Flask of Wondrous Physic. And again, if you were on a new character and didn't have the map yet, the map for this area is right here on that pylon. And now, out the other side of the Mistwood, you can see just north of us, there is the Church of Marika, and inside of it, the Flask, the Sacred Tier to upgrade our other Flask, and another Grace. Before we continue on from here, we're going to take a brief detour. We're going to head out the church and around to the pond north of it. In the back of this pond, there is a teleporter. It's going to take us to northeastern Caitlin. It's a very brief detour. We're going for just a golden seed. Before we go get the golden seed, we will open these doors to grab the Grace. We ride back out past the boss. He's fine, just don't antagonize him. If you take a wide loop around that little mob there, I think he doesn't aggro and you can just fast travel back out immediately. And from there, we fast travel back to the first step. We are exploring Caelid for Flask at this point. However, it's much faster to go there through a different route. Rather than trying to explore south in the Bestial Sanctum, we're going to take the teleporter in the Dragonburnt Ruins. As with basically all ruins, there's a downward passage leading to either a chest or a mini-boss, only this time it leads to a prank. On your first playthrough, these things are terrifying, but they're actually incredibly useful as a means of traveling the world. And now that we've been ensnared, we are in Celia Crystal Tunnel. We have no desire to be here. This place is a death trap for a character our level, so we'll be leaving immediately. Anyway, from the Celia Crystal Tunnel, we immediately ride north to the Celia town itself, head up the stairs and cut east immediately, and here you're going to need to climb up this pile of rubble with your horse, and then from there go over the roots to this other tower and up the ladder. Celia's got a variety of magical barriers blocking different paths in it, and you get rid of them by lighting these braziers. This one gets rid of the barrier to that gateway over there. And as you can see, right next to that barrier, there's already a golden seed. From here, we travel north and east up the cliff face behind Celia. There's going to be a magic boulder trap. Do your best not to get caught by that. Usually, if you're just sprinting along the right edge on your horse, you're not going to get caught and it's nothing to worry about. And up ahead of us is the Church of Rot, or maybe it's the Church of Plague, I always forget its name. But either way, there's another Grace and another Crystal Tier inside, or a Sacred Tier rather. Heading north in the church, there is a Spirit Well again. We can use it to jump up the cliff to the Dragon Barrow. And this is technically not for anything to do with Flasks, but as I showed in my previous video, we're now at the location where you get the other half of the Dectus Medallion, as well as Radagon Source Seal. If I'm in a video about giving advice for the early game of Elden Ring, I'd be remiss not to include this in the big running around route. If you want to upgrade your Flask, another thing you can do to make yourself much more powerful is grab the Source Seal on your way. From here, there's not too much left to do. We're going to fast travel back to the Church of the Plague. There's 2 more golden seeds and 1 more Sacred Tier on the route that I typically take. From the Church of the Plague, you want to leave heading west and south, head down the hill past the gargoyles, and from here, head straight towards the edge of the cliff where that giant troll is at. Here, you can walk down the Trypophobia, down the roots, and make it back to the road. There's a Grace right next to where you land on the ground. We have a little bit further to go for a golden seed. Here, past the fork in the road, there's another pylon where you can get a map for this area if you haven't gotten it already like I have. And just south down the road, there's a golden tree with another golden seed. From here, we're going to fast travel back to Gatefront, and we're finally going to head north for 1 more golden seed and 1 more Sacred Tier. I am now going to grab the 1 golden seed that you almost certainly already have. Just past the ambush on the road there's a golden tree with a golden seed right here. I've been grabbing a couple of minor things that are running around, things like stone sword keys and smithing stones. Those are obviously not important to what we're doing, but I feel like if I'm showing off grabbing early stuff for a character, I should show the locations of stone sword keys that I'm literally walking over. And from here, instead of running to Market, we're going to go north under the bridge and take the long, winding cliffside path to Liurnia of the Lakes and around Stormvale Castle. Once you see wolves, you're probably about 2/3 of the way done with the run. And now, coming around the back of Stormvale Castle, we're going to come upon a Grace, and then immediately after, a church with the last Sacred Tier of the route. And now we're going to head back and we're going to fight Margit to demonstrate just how much of a difference these upgrade materials can make. Originally, we had 5 plus nothing Flask of Crimson Tears. In our inventory, we currently have 6 golden seeds, which I believe will get us to 8 flasks total, and 5 sacred tears to go up to +5, which is like actually just 400 or 500% more healing. It's ridiculous. And now, having arrived at Stormvale Castle, we can go to fight Margit. Now, I expect this first Margit fight to be a little bit shit. And you can obviously get more than this. I'm going to talk about why that's unnecessary after the second Margit attempt. Now, to be fair, this is going to be my first attempt at Margit with a dagger ever. I've never used a weapon this short. So this is probably going to be a sloppy attempt all the same, but it will sort of demonstrate my point that I don't have much room for error. Do something. Margit, please. Do something. Nope, that is not an opening for a dagger. It's not quite fast enough. I don't know why I thought I could outspace him. Should be safe to heal since I baited the attack. Yeah, there's a fall, but it's so slow I could have hit him. Do something. A little spin is something. What's happening? Thank you, Margit. And you'll notice that I'm mostly using my magic here to bait Margit into doing something when he's just standing around in front of me. At low levels, you don't really have enough magic to rely on it as your main source of damage. Do something. Do something. Ah, shit, that was way too early. That was a waste. Alright, we've made it to phase 2 at least. Nope, come back, fight me. Unfortunately, I am out of magic now, so I have to play him against his normal AI. I can't just force him to fight me whenever I want. Ah, shit. So that's going to demonstrate a different part of my lesson that I meant to. You can see I was playing incredibly slowly and patiently there, and I ended up getting 2-shot before I could even take enough damage to heal. Earlier in the video, I specifically said not just that getting Flask was the most important thing a new player could do, but leveling up their vigor. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to equip the Radagon Sword Seal, use that to equip the Katana instead of what I was using, and I'm going to be back in a hot second. 36 minutes into the recording, I began bleeding the dragon, which sounds like a euphemism for something. At 40 minutes and 52 seconds, we have finally bled the dragon to death. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want souls to demonstrate the value of vitality. So I'm not going to be using anywhere near all of those souls. I'm just going to level my vitality up to 20. I'm going to slap on the Sword Seal, which will bring it even higher, to 25. And our health now is up to 800 compared to what it was a little bit ago. We've basically doubled our health. The value you get out of your damage stats in the early game compared to what you get out of leveling up your health is disproportionately low. You really want to level up your health immediately early in the game. I'm just letting these people hit me for a little bit. Come on, I don't want to be dead, but I do need to take more damage to this. Alright, that's good enough. So I've got 5 Flasks, and you can see they heal for that much. I can basically heal my health bar twice, if that. Whereas if I were to use all of these golden seeds that I've got, as well as all of these sacred tears, we're going to jump from 5 plus 0 flask up to 8 plus 5 flask. And again, I'm going to let these people wail on me and show you just how much healing I really have. Alright, that's plenty of damage. And now you can see that when I heal, I'm healing almost an entire health bar with just 1 flask. Before, all 5 of our flasks might give us 2 health bars, Now basically every flask is giving us another health bar to work with. Our room for error, despite only being 11 levels higher, is so much higher when you level up Vigor. And likewise, our room for error with these flasks is much higher. Oh no, I've failed to dodge. I can just afford to take a hit. Well, now I've taken those hits. I'll heal. Oh, that wasn't a healing opportunity. I guess I got lucky. And you can see that even playing like patiently and much, much worse and not using my magic to bait him into patterns I understand and just like exploring and looking for openings and talking and intentionally missing a couple of things, it just doesn't matter the way my resources did in the previous fight. I have so much room for error now and then so much more room to learn. And that's hugely important for new players. If you get killed in 2 hits, if you have enough resources to make like 3 or 4 mistakes, fights are incredibly frustrating. It's why so many people dislike some of the later bosses of the game. But in the early game, you can make it not that way. You can level up Vigor early, you can upgrade your flask, and you can get the room for error you need to quickly and enjoyably learn the game. This fight has been tremendously worse than my last fight, but I've still got so many more resources to work with. Even though I've been playing terribly by comparison, I'm in a better start than my previous fight right now. And I also have the resources where I'm afraid of getting comboed out. I can just heal. I don't have to hold my flask because it's desperately wasteful to use it. Do something. Do something. And again, with this many flasks as well, one of the main differences is that I have enough flasks I could have afforded to put some into the Mind Flask now. I wouldn't be losing 20% of my healing if I got a flask for my focus. I can afford to use that if I had wanted to. That is not an opening. Nor is that safe. I never quite did learn how to roll that one. Or build it into my instincts that this spin is not done after the first one. For some reason, whenever he does the jump attack close to me, I'm just bad at the game. And I always misjudge where it's going. But like, this fight has been absolutely terrible, and I'm still not quite dead. I've had so many more opportunities to watch what he's doing and learn about these attacks that I just don't fully have into my muscle memory yet. And Margit's one of the best fights for having this sort of room for error, because he's got the cane, the tail, the daggers, the long sword, and the hammer. He has so many different ways of moving around and attacking at so many different speeds that you really want that room for error to learn Margit. The reason he's so famous and so frustrating for so many players is they have low vigor and low flask, and they don't have the ability to learn the fight in an enjoyable way. Earlier in the video, I said you could get much more golden seeds and sacred tears if you wanted, and you can. You can get 2 more sacred tears up here at these churches. There's a golden seed here in Raya Lucaria, a golden seed here-ish, south of Raya Lucaria. And with the medallion assembled, you could go into Altas and get like 4 more, 5 more golden seeds super easily, and a sacred tear to go with it. But at this point, the healing is just good enough proportionate to how much health you have that you really don't need to, which is why I always stop here when I'm doing my early gathering. Anyways, that's it for now. I'll leave you with a clip of my successful market attempt on this character. It's probably going to be the next one. Like I said, it's all about giving yourself room for error. You're still going to have to learn the fights, but that was a far cry from perfect. I don't feel happy with that market fight at all, but I've learned it well enough to win, and the reason I'm able to do that at all is because I've got levels in Vigor. I've got Flasks that can heal me for a substantial amount. I've got the room for error to practice him while I'm fighting him in my successful attempts. Anyways, that's it for me. I hope this brief guide was helpful. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.